overused idea of storytelling. Like, I don't know when that word became so prevalent,
right.
but it is true that, like, even with your book, like, even going back, to those movies that you wrote about, or even thinking about Mike Nichols or Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, that, there is, even because of the timestamp on them, you realize that there was a whole other way of perceiving then. That has gotten lost. There was the idea that these guys sweated over strips of film to put them together. These decisions that we're making, the collaborative process in a way that wasn't completely polluted by marketing. Yet, although you were able to, through the sort of veins of all those movies you captured, you saw all levels of it, and also the kind of mixture of old Hollywood and new Hollywood, and what acting meant, and how people weighed scripts. And I think the biggest threat to what we're talking about and to criticism in general is that things happen so quickly. We're all operating in a certain amount of anxiety, paralysis, and PTSD that we only engage passively, and things just keep hitting us and keep hitting us. That, and it creates a cultural shallowness that if you don't fight personally to, go deeper, it's a trouble for the entire culture.
Yeah, I think it's a hard ask for people, though, to say, like, go exploring. Because I get, like, you hear about a movie, you want to see it, you do the work to figure out where you can stream it or whatever. But to go also, like, it can be really rewarding to just go put yourself in the atmosphere of a place like the Criterion Channel and say, I'm just going to see where my mind takes me, and not be afraid, I mean, I always say to people, you can always turn it off. Like, if you don't like it, stop and watch another movie. But go try something.
But it's interesting to see the courage of, as a critic, like, to see the courage of filmmakers, from the past that influence independent film now, and to realize that all mainstream product movies, most of them for many years and to this day, require closure and simplicity and compelling, but maybe stupid stories. If you're going to sell a movie, and the reason there's so many cowardly, hits, is that's really the business of movies. So when you talk about Bonnie and Clyde or The Graduate, and you see, like, well, these were, outliers. I mean, it was a miracle that things happened because it was really a populist movement of young people to sort of shift the focus of films at that time, right? And the critics.
Right. I mean, the only movie of those five that was not going against the grain of what was happening was Dr. Dolittle.
Right.
Like, that was mainstream Hollywood business, and everything else was a little bit of a push or a big push towards something different.
But I think the weird thing that I can't tell, by we're talking, like, for me, there's still things that I need to reckon with as who I am that I never quite understood, that I can keep going back to. To sort of go deeper within it. Like, I could never wrap my brain around Fassbinder. And then you got the Criterion Channel, and I'm like, oh, well, we'll just try. Just start looking at things. Like, I knew that Veronica Voss had a profound effect on me when I was younger, but I didn't think I got it. And now, like, I can contextualize everything. I'm older. I can, read a little bit about it and then watch that trilogy. What is it? Veronica Voss, Lola, and
Marriage of Maria Braun.
Right. And kind of put it into the context of Germany and his career. But that's me. I can't tell anyone to do that. And I'm not trying to be better than anyone else to do that. But for me, the art of film demands me to read people like you and also re-engage with the work and see why it's relevant as an art form and needs to be championed as such.
Yeah, I love that feeling of going back to a movie every, 10 or 12 years or so, and in some cases thinking, I wonder if I'm going to like it this time. Like, I've never connected with this movie before, but somehow I think maybe this time will be, I'll get it. Or it'll just be the right movie for me at the right moment in my life. And, I always think that's a great gamble to take. Like, even if it doesn't pay off, I like trying.
Who are the critics working now that you respect and read?
Oh, wow. Well, I read everybody because I'm on the internet all day and I'm looking at stuff, and I love finding someone.
But like, who is a resource for you where you're like that? You respect their opinion enough to sort of rethink things.
Dana Stevens at Slate. I think she's a really interesting writer. Like, I'm always curious to see what Tony Scott and Manohla Dargis have to say in the New York Times, even if I disagree with someone. For me, like, the measure of an interesting critic is not whether I agree with them a lot or not, but whether it sparks an interesting argument in my head.
Right.
And so that's what I kind of look for in criticism. Is it a good is a good fight happening?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And what was your reaction to, like, 'cause, like, I just did this monologue the other day about how, you know, all these award ceremonies and the sort of the idea of nominating things for anything, you know, in what we're in right now just seems empty and sad somehow.
It's so strange. Like, the Golden Globe nominations came out, and you know, my whole crowd of people was fighting about the Golden Globes, and I went on a podcast and was asked to talk about the nominations, and I did, and all the while I was thinking, I can't believe the Golden Globes are happening in this world.
Right.
Right. And I can't believe anyone is devoting any energy to trying to win a Golden Globe or worrying about not getting nominated for a Golden Globe. It's just, like, in some ways it made me really happy that we could take a big break from everything that is insane and horrible in the world right now to talk about, you know, best supporting actress or whatever we're pissed off about at the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
And in other ways, I genuinely cannot believe that there's going to be a Golden Globes at the end of this month.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's all kind of crazy to me. And I think that what we were talking about before and sort of where I was going when I spoke about the Golden Globes is that, you know, in the same way you and I were talking about how quickly things go by and how you have to grab onto things or take the time to go a little deeper with things or figure out how to choose things, is that, you know, the possibility that we get through this over the next, you know, 6 months, that there's not going to be any way to compartmentalize this time. We're not going to be able to dismiss this year or 2 years of what we went through. And for me, you know, I talk to creative people a lot. I talk to artists and comics and writers. You know, I'm friendly with Tracy Letts, and like I know that there are people generating, but you know, it's going to be, you know, a sort of a staggering, hopefully staggering, to see how people depict and integrate what we're going through now into art in the very near future, because it's very hard to see anything now or to make anything. But I wonder how this is going to be sort of processed and interpreted.
Yeah, I've been watching my husband for the last 10 months, you know, who obviously does something very different than I do. He tries to create things, you know, tries to create characters, and you know, he gets asked all the time, like, oh, are you going to write a play about Donald Trump? Or are you going to, like, how are you going to write about this moment? And I know that it's something that he wrestles with a lot. It's like the question of even, should I try to write about this moment, or should I go chase something else that means something to me? Can I afford to do that right now? Or should I, you know, is it part of my job to try to contend with this exact moment in my writing? You know?
Yeah, because
it's a hard thing.
Well, yeah, you know, but you know what the weird thing about that is that, you know, it's relative to the outlet. You know, if he's going to create something that he needs to workshop, when are you going to do that? Like, and also, what about our own denial? Like, you know, most of us are sort of like, I want this to end. You know, like not not like, you know, how is this affecting me and my family and, you know, people I know, and, you know, what is it doing? What is the damage, you know? Because that's the idea. It's sort of like, you know, do I just write this musical or right?
Right. Or do I write something that carries the flag and fights the fight, which, you know, sometimes you can do directly, but sometimes the best stuff doesn't emerge from you trying to kind of make your contribution to the greater cause. You know, sometimes it comes out of you just following your own passion, even if it's for something strange.
Yeah. So, like, what are the other movies that you liked that are, you know, being talked about? Did you watch Judas and the Black Messiah?
Yeah, and that's a movie I'm really excited to tell people about. I thought that was it was really powerful, and I didn't know much about the case at all going in, or the story. And I felt like with a lot of these fact-based movies, one of the really hard things to do is catch you up on what you need to know, the historical context and stuff. Just give you enough going in so that you can race along with the story and with the characters. And I thought this movie did a really good job of that.
It was amazing. And like, you just compare it. It's so funny to me that, like, I didn't know much of that story. I kind of knew, obviously, how it ended. But, you know, that character at the core of this thing, the one that Stansfield played, is that his name?
Lakeith Stanfield.
I love him. Stanfield. Yeah. You know, that moral, you know, the strange moral compass, the idea that the protagonist of this film is the guy who's sort of like, I just care about me. I don't give a fuck about this. You know what I mean? I want to get out, you know. That was who we're seeing this through, was like, you know, profound and challenging and kind of amazing. But what I also like is that, you know, so many of these movies that they shoot about that time period, they always look silly, but they really got the time right. And I think it was because of a profound and lack of white people. That white people in those costumes of that era, it's clown time. But for some reason, African Americans, you know, in the 60s always look great. They're just like,
well, it's funny because I always flinch when every costume looks like it just got dry cleaned and came off a hanger and is perfect. Like, no one has ever worn this before the second you're seeing it. Yeah. And this movie did not have that. This movie, like, it looked a little lived in, and you know, that's pretty great.
And it's just so weird because you watch the Chicago 7 movie, and that thing, like, it was like, there's no way you can, it's just, stop making movies about white people in the 60s. Because it just, there's no way you're not going to transcend those pants. You know, it's just.
I like the pants-based theory of the trial of the Chicago 7.
What other movies did you like?
I really liked Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think it's super tough to adapt plays to the screen, and I thought George Wolfe and that whole cast just did
a great
fantastic job with that.
It's a heavy movie.
So it's a heavy movie, but so rewarding to just see those actors working together,
God,
and the way they work together.
Good.
You know,
yeah,
like that's why I love theater. You know, watching actors.
Yeah.
And you don't often see that on screen, like a cast of people working that beautifully together.
Viola Davis. Oh, my God.
Yeah, amazing.
What a performance.
Totally not like anything she's done.
Oh, my God.
So
great.
That's what I really loved. What else have you liked?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what other, like, ones that I just watched on a screener. Like, I can't, like, see, this is the problem. You almost get like a pandemic-induced dementia where, you know, days seem like weeks and things just, you know, you watch something and it just disappears.
I know. I used to remember when I was younger, I could, if you named a movie that I'd seen, I would remember exactly where I saw it.
Yeah.
Like what theater, what night. And now to see everything at home and to be home all the time, it is making it harder to give every movie like a clean, you know, like wipe your slate clean and just try to watch it.
Yeah, because everything is sort of, it's all framed as like, well, what can we do today to eat up this time? You know?
Exactly.
Oh, I watched First Cow.
Oh, yeah. I really like that movie. Like,
it's kind of, you know what's cool? Did you notice that there was like two people from McCabe and Mrs. Miller in there? And that, it's got that tone. There's definitely a tip of the hat to that weird, muddy McCabe and Mrs. Miller Altman thing going on.
Yeah, I don't see how you can talk about that movie without using the word mud.
Yeah,
like it's a muddy movie. There, you know, it's about dirt.
Yeah,
and living in dirt
and being buried in it, literally.
Yeah. That felt really honest and you know, like a tough movie to make. And I believed it. I believed those people in that world.
Yeah,
you know, that's all I can add.
It so reminded me of McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Just you saying this makes me want to go watch McCabe and Mrs. Miller tonight.
Oh, you can always watch McCabe and Mrs. Miller. McCabe and Mrs. Miller is one of my favorite movies.
I love it. Last time I watched it on DVD, and I watched it with subtitles, so like English subtitles, so that I could
catch everything.
Hear every. Yeah,
that's hilarious. All right, well, look, it was great talking to you.
Great talking to you too.
And do you feel like we covered everything for you?
I think so. I mean, I love your show. I love that I had no idea where we were going to end up going. It's like the most fun part of listening to you, and was the most fun part of doing this.
Oh, good. Well,